Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another of the Lawful Remedy, the Clever Clogs answering your lawful questions. This isn't legal advice, just so you know. I'm Richard Vobes, and with me is Karen Dodd. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Richard.
In the studio, and the lovely Julia is in the chat room.
Oh,
Here
she's
she
coming.
is.
Is she coming? Oh, there she is, bless her.
Come and say hello. And she will be monitoring, no, it's not monitoring, what do you call it? Moderating. There we are,
yes.
moderating in the chat room and making sure that we don't miss any questions. We have, of course, a panel of clever clogs waiting to answer your questions as best as they can. And I think we've had some amazing shows, haven't we, recently? Where, you know, the stuff that people have asked have certainly taxed the likes of me. And
Totally.
But our clever clogs have easily risen to the occasion.
Rosen.
So, Rosen.
Rosen to the...
I like to make up my own English here in case it's deemed as legalese.
I was going to say.
Anyway, Karen, who have we got on the panel tonight?
Tonight, Richard. So we have got a new lady, a new person tonight, a lady called Rebecca. And she's got experience with like the Department of Work and Pensions. So, Rebecca, you wanted to introduce yourself. You said you've got a little bio, a couple of minutes. So, do you want to just go in there and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, certainly. So, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on the show. It's a real pleasure. In 2012, I developed an autoimmune disease and had to stop working. I became too ill to work. I then applied for employment support allowance. I was put into a support group and stayed there until 2017. In November of 2017, I had to attend a work capability assessment in Portsmouth. In January 2018, I lost my case and put onto job seekers allowance and remained there for 7 months. During that time, I submitted a mandatory reconsideration. And in August of 2018, my case was upheld. And in my favour, my ESA was reinstated and my money was paid back. In 2023, I became a member of the Sovereign Project and completed a 22-week basic course in learning contract/commercial law and the legal system. With that, I then put my new skills and confidence to the test and challenged my utility companies. Along the way, I had a few successes. I stopped debt recovery agencies from extorting money from me. And in 2024, the Department for Work and Pensions tried again to contact me via the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments, known as the CHDA, who do the dirty work and bookings for the Department for Work and Pensions. To date, I have successfully stopped them from going any further. I believe I can help people in a similar situation to myself and offer general help and advice to people who want to challenge their utilities. And now back to you, Richard.
Brilliant. That sounds very good and nice to know. That's presumably Pete Stone's course, the 22-week course.
Yes.
And well done you for challenging all those different things. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
So yeah, we've now also got Dean of Buxton. I think we just flicked in there briefly. So Dean of Buxton, he's been on our show before. So hello, Dean. Welcome back.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you're well.
Good to see you in your Formula One car, ready to take us to great heights. Well, not great height. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to make a joke.
Maybe you could be up a hill.
That's right. With your legal knowledge or lawful knowledge.
Yeah, I suppose you could put it that way. It's just stuff that I've picked up along the way.
Fantastic.
Which is what we're doing, isn't it? We're all picking it up on the way and working with it. So it's good to have you, Dean. We've also got David Edelman, the People's Lawyer. So hello, David, in the kitchen.
Next to the soup machine.
Next to the soup machine.
There you go. There's the soup
like
maker.
A weatherman.
Good to be back, and it's good that this thing is growing. And I don't know what your numbers or your viewing figures are doing, but it certainly relieves the pressure on people who are feeling the pinch in these very, very turbulent, interesting times. Anyway, thank you. It's great to be here.
And I think that's a good point you've made, because we are getting new people that are reaching out, just like Rebecca, who has done the course and is, actually walking the talk. So it's lovely, and we welcome anybody that has positive stories to tell to get in touch with Richard or myself, and it'll be good to have you on the show. We like happy stories, don't we? And that inspires people, which is what this is about.
Yeah, no.
Happy stories. And finally, allegedly Dave, who was with us last week, and I don't know if you're going to be popping in and out, Dave, because you're at the WTF gathering, are you not, in a car somewhere?
Yeah, it's me, live and direct from in the middle of a field.
You look like you're in a limo, actually. It looks very, very posh.
Well, like a limo with a cage in it. I'm locked in. Let me out.
Last week we saw you in your wonderful new studio.
Oh, yes. Was that, yes,
Late
with
night with allegedly Dave. And I
might
was
have to
looking
make
forward to
a show.
that.
I might have to make that a show, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds great.
Very good. So great team tonight. Lots of lovely, clever clogses. And shall we kick off with our first question?
Yes, please. Why not?
Right. So public notice said, is anyone trained in legal English? Is that a proper question?
Well, anyone trained on the panel, I think.
Yes,
Is
yes,
it?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so. They were the words, yes.
And when you say legal English, I suppose that means, are you trained as a legal professional?
Yes,
Is that
clerk
what they mean?
or something. Yeah, as a barrister or a lawyer
The
or.
problem with the whole training thing is that I could train a dog to do various things, so I don't like the word train.
No, well, I suppose that is a point, isn't it? You could certainly train, but I mean that's what they do, isn't it? That's what people do. They train people
yeah.
to respond to certain processes.
They do, but I think they indoctrinate certain people. It depends what you're learning. But we have had David Adelman. I mean, he's a people's lawyer. He's got a legal.
And he's there.
But yeah, David, I think this is your question, isn't it?
Yeah, can I just say that I was trained, in inverted commas, so the full Monty, degree, solicitor's finals, solicitor's training, post-qualification practice, but I've spent the last 10 to 15 years trying to erase that from my brain.
Oh, right.
So the question is a kind of understandable, but doesn't fully comprehend what we're doing here, really. We are endeavoring to transcend legalese without comprehending it so that we know what we're transcending and we know what tricks and deceits they're playing, but we're not looking to show off what we know within the system, apart from to give people an idea of how to do the slalom and get to safety, if that makes sense.
Is this like a good time also for some of you or one of you to explain the difference between like legal and lawful and legalese for any new viewers that have come on and joined us tonight?
Yeah,
But,
I can
fresh.
explain that quite simply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tomorrow it could be illegal to wear a red T-shirt, but it is always going to be lawful to wear a red T-shirt.
So,
Thank you, Dean.
Yes, because who's going to give you? I suppose what you mean is whose authority is going to change
Yeah.
to make it.
I mean, there are certain things that the so-called legal system can just make up.
Yeah.
They make
randomly.
it up. So tomorrow it could be illegal to wear a red T-shirt because somebody could say, oh, well, if you wear a red T-shirt, somebody driving down the road is more likely to pay attention to you. So you're actually causing a hazard to drivers. So red T-shirts are banned when you're walking down the street. That is the difference. But it's always lawful.
That makes sense. So, but therefore, can you explain lawful in more depth?
Yeah, right or wrong. So we all know
Okay.
right and wrong. So that's the lawful process. So you have to use your conscience of what is lawful.
It's like common sense in a way, is it? Or a little bit more deeper than that?
Yeah, common sense, but most people haven't got common sense.
No.
Allegedly, Dave would like to add. Yes, Dave.
yeah, I kind of break it down into lawful is what you can do pretty much anything you want as long as you don't cause harm, injury, or loss to every living man or woman or anything. And what's legal is you can't do anything unless the government allows it. That's basically it.
It's the government's rules.
The government, and it's whether or not we agree with the government's rules, I guess, as well. Because
and just to answer the question, it seems to be a bit of a oxymoron because it's either English or it's legalese. It's two different languages.
Right. Yeah.
Got you.
Maybe the question, it was sort of in error, not
And
in
I
error.
added, yeah,
but,
and then I added my question, didn't I, to try and get people to understand the difference between lawful and legal. We've got another question here, which is, how can a DSAR from the magistrate come back blank, yet the council say there has been a court hearing in my name? That's from Duncan.
I could answer that. So the clue is in the name. It's a data subject access request. Is that what you was
Yes.
asking?
Yes.
Okay. So a request can either be granted or denied. It is not a require or requirement. Request. It's in the word itself.
Right. Yeah, that, you see, that makes sense.
That
As soon
does
as you
make
break
sense.
it down like that, you suddenly go, oh, yeah.
Oh, I get it,
It's
yeah.
just a request. And I suppose the same is if somebody requests something from us, ordinary members of the ordinary people, men and women, stop myself there. Again, if it's a request, you can decide whether you wish to give an answer or not.
Yeah.
Correct.
Can I add something?
Please do.
In the data protection legislation, tribunals or anyone acting in a judicial capacity is exempt from DSAR requests or DSAR. They have an exemption.
So they can choose not to anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Okay. So it just shows you what you're up against trying to get. And what about for freedom of information requests? How does that differ from a DSAR?
DSAR.
Thanks.
Answered it yourself. You put request at the end of that sentence, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Thanks. I'm going to the bottom of the class this week.
It is an entertainment show.
It's been a long week and quite tired.
Right, would
The
anyone
brain
like...
is not functioning. Thanks, Dean.
To the point. Another question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okie dokie. So here we've got from Lezona.
Lezona, nice name.
Lezona, sounds like a place in America or Mexico. Can we really change things unless all of us start making claims in court against the system and banks and councils and companies, etc.?
So that's a unity question,
That
isn't it?
is, yeah.
I suppose.
Get it together.
But I guess we must be already making a bit of a difference,
Yeah.
because when you log on to the council, for example, you'll see them say you can't use the freeman of the land argument, which must mean that they're being inundated with people using, I'm a free man of the land, this is not right. And they're trying to quell the numbers. So presumably it is making a difference, even though people are not necessarily united. It's just... And
maybe the councils that are going bankrupt, I mean, is that because a lot of people aren't paying the money, or is it because they're spending more money than they're receiving? Who knows?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the team just onto the left.
Any hands going up?
Allegedly, Dave.
Okay, now I forgot what the question was.
Can we really change things unless we all bound together?
Yeah, well, yes. Now it's obviously more powerful if a whole load of us get together and do it, because essentially that's the people saying no, and if everyone does it, then they can't maintain it. It falls away. But individually, every time we challenge these things, more of their resources go to try and counter us. Right? So if a dozen people do it, that's a lot of work they have to do to keep trying to force the lie on us. So the more of us who do it, the better it is. But just you doing it is still like it's a wasp sting. So they can shrug off one wasp sting, but 20 is going to be difficult. 100,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a numbers game, isn't it? And we all need to do our bit.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just jump in there?
Please do.
I try to work on the premise that I won't go into something that I don't feel comfortable doing, simply because if I don't understand and I mean that understand in the true sense of the word, if I don't recognize what I'm doing and know that I'm confident in being able to actually use that information in order to actually be successful in overturning something or something that's potentially going to be difficult for me, then I won't touch it. And so I will only go into areas where I feel 100%, sure that I can get a successful result. Having said that, I also think it's very important that people get a basic understanding, even if it's just a cursory understanding of how things work. So at some point when they feel confident, they might actually want to start to do something about it. But it is very much a numbers game, and the more people who actually start to do this and stand in the power, the more success and the more successes we will have. And eventually, I think the system will start to actually crumble under its own corruption.
Yeah. So I think Suk was on a previous show was saying pick your battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, as you were sort of alluding at
Absolutely.
that. Oh, there's the police. So if you can hear them.
They've gone past. You're right. And breathe. But yeah, it is. I think that's why we're doing these shows, isn't it, Richard? To bring the awareness and the knowledge to the audience.
As much as we can.
As much as we can, so that they can stand in their sovereignty, and they know they're not passing the buck to get somebody else to fill out a template and do the work. You have to know what you're talking about to defend your case. And just, I know Richard's going to ask a question, but somebody here has just said something about how can one person, I can't see the question now, stand up against 8 billion? I mean,
one person stand up at 8
billion.
but
How
you're not standing up at all 8 billion all at once.
No, leave my rights alone. I mean.
But that's an interesting point. We had a couple of hands up there. David Edelman had his hand up a second ago to come in on our panel. Did you want to add something, David?
Well, yeah, I'm making notes like you wouldn't believe on all kinds of things. Just briefly on the idea of sovereignty, I define sovereignty as bodily autonomy. And I take it away from paperwork and from asserting yourself using paperwork. It's bodily autonomy, and that includes free will choice and the right to stand in your space. So that my new definition of what they used to call free man on the land or free woman on the land is I separate the two words free and man. So it's free space man, free space woman, but not on the land, but in your land. That's where your sovereignty is. It's when you work on mental freedom and how to assert it within your sacred space, which is your sovereign space, then you become a free man or free woman, two words, not one, in your land. Land being your sacred bodily, subtle energy, your sacred space. That's where Armageddon is taking place. And all the other battles that we choose to fight, however worthy and noble they are, if they affect your internal peace, then they are affecting your sovereignty and they need to be questioned. Right,
yes, I would agree with that. Did you want, allegedly Dave had his hand, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just, okay, I'm responding to what Rebecca said, but not having a go at Rebecca, to be honest.
Right, fair enough.
It's because I understand the need to fully understand, and this is something I'm always going on about. You have to understand before you jump in. But very similar to that, there's a feeling out there that that people need to know that this has been 100% tried and tested, and there's been success, and so they won't do anything until somebody's had a success, and it's going to always work. And that's when they feel that they can do something, when it's all done and dusted, and now it's safe for them to do. Right? Well, first of all, right, we're in this game of chess with these people. Okay, they are lying to us. Yeah, they're in the wrong, we're in the right. Okay, so it's a game of chess because we assert ourselves, so we make a move, they make a counter move, right? So we make another move, and so on and so on. There isn't going to be a perfect solution, because when there is a perfect solution, they get together and they try and figure out a way around it. Yeah. So no, there are no guarantees in this, right? But still, and this is going back to the Freeman days, when we were, back in the early days when we were doing this, right? We were out there trying different things. There was nobody else who'd
right.
done templates before. We were trying it and see what happens, right? And that's the spirit we need to get back into, right? Because it's all very well us, a few of us doing templates, but there's nobody pushing the boundaries forward. Nobody going out there and doing more research and finding new stuff and saying, well, look, template's great, but if we add this to it, and we can move forward. So that's my bit bugbear at the moment, that there's a few of us putting templates out there, but there's nobody out there really doing any more research or going out on the limb themselves.
So would you say that if you took this to sort of like a battle scenario, and you look at, I don't know, how the English and say the French battled in the Napoleonic Wars, thank you very much, and they would have certain tactics, and then the English would have tactics. Well, unless somebody changes the tactics, it's just stalemate, because they're doing the same old thing, and then eventually one wears the other out or manages to conquer them out. But we saw tactics change in the First World War, because suddenly they had new weapons like tanks and things and so on, that if we don't push the boundary, then we're not really making that much difference. And is that what you mean?
Essentially, because again, the Freeman movement moved ahead because we're all attacking it from our own unique perspectives and finding new ways. But our power is in our creative intelligence. We're up against a monster which hasn't got any creative intelligence. It's basically trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, right? And they're doing little variations to counter what we do, but we can come up with new approaches, and that's the thing that stumps them, or at least for a little while. So it takes all of us, a lot of us, putting our unique twist on things and finding new avenues.
Well,
can I just add to that?
Yeah, please do.
Just to give specific examples of what Dave is saying. When people ask me, "Oh, I've got this problem, what should I do?" That I don't just give them my idea of my opinion of what they should do, because let's face it, we don't give advice anyway. But the first question I ask them is, are you a person of interest? Are you a targeted individual? Have you got a police record? Who are you? Or are you an absolutely anonymous citizen? Because my thoughts will differ for all of those different scenarios, and their strategies will differ. For example, when I was under siege by the police during lockdown COVID, they didn't send me letters because they knew that I knew my stuff. So they came round mob-handed, a police car with 3 or 4 officers in it, to serve me personally with paperwork. So they wouldn't do that with average Joe, anonymous Joe. They would just send the average Joe a letter full of massive red ink to scare the bejesus out of them. But they had a different strategy for someone they knew was versed in their rules and versed in true law. So, so Dave is absolutely right. It's all a question, are we talking about pawns, bishops, knights, kings, queens? Where are we on the field, on the field of battle? So, yeah.
Dean wants to just add on this, and then we'll go to a next question. Dean.
Yeah, if I could just add, I think that both sort of points are fair. So Rebecca's and Dave's. So when you are coming to this and you're quite new, you just need that little bit of reassurance that things aren't going to go incredibly tits up. So I appreciate Rebecca's words and position. So, but obviously allegedly Dave, is also, makes a good point with regards to, we need to push boundaries. But it's just that people like Rebecca that haven't come to it, so early or late in the game, depending on how you would want to look at it, is that there are people that still just need that little bit of security before they make the move. And I feel that is a fair point. But yes, we do need people pushing boundaries.
And what I was going to add is I think that a show like this, which I don't know if it's been done before, in which we have a panel of people who've been doing this work, has come together to answer questions to an audience online on YouTube. And if that hasn't been done before, then I would like to think that we are. I mean, it's Karen's idea to do it.
Yeah, but it's definitely a numbers game, and I think that what we're all talking about here links to David Bushel's question. Hello, David, by the way. Any advice dealing with Northampton County Court Business Centre? So David's had 2 bailiffs show up with an unsigned warrant, and they've put a clamp on his car, and the council seems to be fast tracking these PCNs. So this Northampton County Court, I mean, it's causing a lot of us some grief.
This is
isn't
the
it?
bulk hearing place.
Which isn't a court; it's an office,
Yeah.
isn't it? So if we could tell people how to overcome those situations, that would be, you know, one of our pawns going forward. That even might be a night, mightn't it? Getting to the castle.
We've got both Davids and Daves and Deans.
Indeed, all the
We've got
Ds.
them
Whoa,
all the Ds.
exciting, yeah.
Let's start with David Edelman, who was there first, I think.
Well, I like to give practical remedy wherever possible. And my simple advice is invest in at least 1, if not 2 clamps of your own. They're only 30 quid each on eBay. And if you suspect a visit is imminent, clamp your own car. And if they catch you out and you've got a spare clamp available, clamp their car as well. And it saves a lot of aggravation, a lot of to-ing and fro-ing and messing about. Yes, you can serve their CEO notice of personal liability, but are you up to the task of drafting that? You know, do you have time? Do you have the energy? Do you have the competence? So for most people, most of the time, we should be looking to practical remedy, especially remedy that is not costly.
Yes, absolutely. Right, let's go to Dean is next on my list. Hello, Dean.
No, Dave had his hand up first.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Allegedly. We'll go to you, Dave.
All right. So my take would be to make sure you have a notice of removal with implied right of access up, which is a notice that says, right, no, you can't come on my property when you don't have my permission to do so. And my notice has also that if you do, I will invoke castle doctrine on you. Right?
And what is castle doctrine?
Castle doctrine came from the phrase "an Englishman's home is his castle," which means that, you know, your home and your property is yours, and anybody trying to come on it is an act of war. And so you have the common law right to remove a trespasser, right, using reasonable force up to and including deadly force.
Wow.
Right. So so this is the thing: when somebody is coming on your land or, you know, on your property, doesn't matter if you're renting it or you own it, whatever, right? When you're renting it to be the owner, right? So if they're coming on your property, right, he's an invader, an intruder, right? And you have the right, the common law right, to remove them. So I was actually going to do a line of baseball bats with the words "reasonable force" on it. Yeah. So this is the point. You've got to take it right back to basics, right? Right back to basics. That you have an invader coming on your land, trying to take your stuff or trying to attack you. It's an act of war. So you've got to be ready for war. I know it sounds might be a bit terrifying, but you know, these are people who are criminals, right, coming after you. So you've got to act appropriately and say, right, no, if you're coming on my property or if you're on my property, right, I've removed your implied right of access, right? So you can't sort of imply the fact that I've let you in here, right? So if you don't leave my property now, I'm going to frog march you off my property, right? Or I'm going to use reasonable force up to and including deadly force. So you better be ready to die today, because I'm ready to die to defend myself and my property.
Can I add on another question to that? Because I've just had the council help themselves to going into my property. I wasn't there at the time, and I had a workman there. The door was open, and they just marched in, and luckily my workman sent them packing. But I've got the notices on the door and stuff, and I have sent them a letter saying you are trespassing, and this, you know, with an invoice. And also Gary, who was on the show the other week, he was saying that because it's not a building site, but work is being done, that's another, you know, law that they've broken because they haven't asked permission. There could have been all sorts of stuff going on, you know, could have been dangerous for them. So I have sent a letter to them, and I'm waiting for the response. But it's it's easy for us to say, well, send a letter saying you can't come and all that kind of stuff. How do we actually really stop them? Because I couldn't stand there with a baseball bat and saying away with you, but I wasn't even there.
Oh, okay. So, well, the first time I was called out as a peace constable, right, was there was a woman on her own, being sort of harassed by 3 guys from Eon, right, and somehow they managed to open the front door, and they was trying to march in, and she managed to just push them out of the front door, shut the door behind her, and was talking to them outside, and eventually I was on the phone to her, right, and I was on speakerphone. They were ignoring me. They were ignoring everything she was saying. I finally said, right, I'm on my way. So I turned up, and when one guy that was left, when he caught sight of me coming towards him, he ran away.
Oh, did you have a baseball bat?
I didn't have anything. No, I didn't have a baseball bat. But the point is that they,
Yeah.
okay, they'll push the boundaries because most of them don't know that there are any boundaries. They think they've got power, right?
Yeah.
They watch the TV, can't pay, take it away, that sort of stuff,
yeah.
and they think they can do whatever they want, right? They also have an inkling that they can't do what they want, right? Because they, nowadays they must have come across people who've used the law, even though even if they've not believed it, they've got an inkling that they're doing the wrong thing. So yes, if they get the opportunity, they're going to try and walk all over you, right?
And it's probably worth everybody's in everybody's interest to actually try and educate these people, because they don't know. Some of them may be a little bit thuggish and they don't want to know because they like to put the uniform on and be all powerful. But I think because I have seen some videos recently of the police being told that unless there's a wet signature for a warrant, then they don't have the right to access that property. And the police said, "Oh, well, I didn't know that. I'll go and tell the guys back at the cop shop." So I think if we do try, if they're prepared to listen, to say, well, actually, you're outside your rights here. You need to go back and learn the rules.
But
that can only help.
Also, the police, well, they've got no jurisdiction to do anything. They shouldn't even be talking. Yeah. If they even look like they're helping the bailiff, well, they're breaking the law. It's the Criminal Justice and Courts Act 2015, Section 26.
Oh,
Can I just jump in? Sorry.
Yes, please do, Rebecca.
I look at it this way. When I see what the police are doing, as far as I'm concerned, are nothing more than a standing army. When the police actually become essentially paramilitary, which is what they are. They wear flak jackets, they wear combat trousers, they wear combat boots. For all intents and purposes, they're not constables, they are paramilitaries. And you should consider that they are a standing army against the people. They don't represent the people, they represent the Crown Corporation. They do not represent the people in any way, shape or form. Don't even bother to ask them to, for their number, because you're talking to a robot. You need to get the man or woman to give them your name, to give them their name. Then you can actually then hold them accountable individually as the individual man or woman. All the while they're in a uniform, they're protected by the corporation. And it's something I think people need to start realizing. We are dealing with a standing army which has been deliberately expanded, even though they say, oh yes, well, we haven't got enough resources. Look at all the resources the police have. They have automatic weapons. I didn't realize how many different weapons they had. They haven't just got Glocks and MP15s or whatever they call MP5s. They've got a whole arsenal. They are literally a standing army. They're bigger than the British Army currently, which is actually getting smaller and smaller. So if you want to know who the real enemy is, it's the people who are actually standing up for the criminals, and they are the ones who are actually stopping us from standing in our power.
They're like the pawns and on the chessboard, aren't they? I suppose we've got to knock them out.
Right, let's go to another question.
Hand. Who's waving?
Oh, sorry, Dean.
Dean.
Yeah, just wanted to add one final point on that with regards to the guy who was having an issue with somebody coming around to clamp his car, is that people really have got to do the background work. So if there is a debt in the fictional name, get the property out of the fictional name so that when somebody turns up, it can't be attached to it.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Can I just add something from the Ways and Means Department? There's a resourceful people across the land are putting signs up that say, beware guard dog.
Oh.
And behind the door, there's probably no more than a puddy cat. But the agent doesn't know that. And if you can invest in a recording of vicious barking, then again, it's a non-costly remedy that's perfectly lawful. This is a 99% psychological warfare, so beat them at their own game.
And you can buy doorknobs, can't you, that bark, actually. You can, or tell you to go away.
Can you get doorknobs that bite?
My dog would bite, actually, but yeah.
But isn't it, it's illegal or probably unlawful to put 250,000 volts through your door handle or your door knocker. You see them come along, they get a shock.
I know in South Africa there was they had a lot of problems with carjackings, and a guy basically created this device which basically electrified the car, so they get a nice sort of 20,000 volt shock or something if they try to go anywhere near the car and open the car up. So personal protection, I think, could be included in your car as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Right, so moving on to more of the questioners' questions, although I don't know whether we really answered the thing about the Northampton bulk thing, but maybe we'll come back to that. Fuzzy Love says, if you buy a commercial property, can they, and I assume he means the government or the legal people, stop you living in it? So if you buy a commercial property like a factory, I suppose, what's to stop you living in it? Is there rules and regulations? And maybe the legalese stuff that says, oh, you can't live in there. Dean?
Yeah, so basically there's 2 points there, isn't there really? There's 2 points, 2 obvious points. If she's buying a commercial property, she's obviously agreeing to certain terms and conditions, right? But really, if we're doing no harm, injury or loss to our fellow man and woman, what is the harm in living in it?
Yes, exactly. Unless you're perhaps, living and dancing over an accountant somewhere who's desperately trying to work out the tax for you that year. Will you stop dancing up there, for goodness sake? Can
I just interrupt, because
of course
this is another good example of lawful versus legal, because as Dean's hinted, it will almost certainly be perfectly lawful to live in there, but it may be illegal. It may be breach of contract or breach of local environmental regulations, planning permissions, but absolutely lawful, because all you're doing is living and breathing and causing no harm, loss or injury. Yeah.
So I mean, the broader point of that is that you could buy a farmland, agricultural land, and then start to live on it. But the planners don't like that.
Yeah, can I just add one point now? Is that obviously, I'm being picky with words here. Is that you don't actually live anywhere apart from within your body.
Right. So what would you call it if your body stays mostly in one place? Makes cups of tea, lies down, and what have you? What would you deem that as being, Dean?
Whatever word you wish.
Whatever word you wish, but not living. So you could be dwelling in a building.
Well, the thing is, all of these words have been given to us by the system. Dwelling, residential, they're all by the system. So let's make our own word up, or let's not just use one. Just you live within your body.
Right. Okay.
I think we should make up a word. Dean, can you make a word up for us now?
Yeah, I'll make one up. Don't worry.
Okay. By the end of the show.
End of the show, I'll give you.
You can have a new word. We create our own.
A word for living in a building.
Yeah. All right.
Fourth Dimension asks, I was arrested for travelling in my private car. My car seized unlawfully. And I was told my car was seized. Yeah,
Imagine the car
it broke down unlawfully.
Seized lawfully on its own.
So my car was seized unlawfully, and I was told I'm being charged with fraud. I received no paperwork, just the mag word to attend. So is that the magistrate's word, the magic word, mag? Just the word, mag word to attend. Should I go? So I guess it's got to go to
not
court.
very explanatory. It's very vague. I mean, how the hell can we give an answer to the word mag?
So fourth dimension, please come back and make your question more clear, and then we'll
Otherwise, I'm
answer
going to be working on certain presumptions that mag means what I believe it means, but I don't know what the hell it means.
Yeah.
No, and that is a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people are typing fast out there to get their questions
Yeah.
out there, but obviously, if it can be misinterpreted or is vague, then it's very difficult because the words are so powerful and they can mean many things. So, but we appreciate that.
Fourth dimension.
Yeah, fourth dimension. Thank you very much. I've got a question that people have emailed in. If I can go to those, because I promised the poor people I would bring them forward. So here is somebody who says, I have to remember what this was about. She says, "Hi Richard, it's me again. The saga continues. Octopus Energy still insist on a smart meter, as my one doesn't calculate the electricity used and hasn't done so since June 2023. I now have an electrician who's happy to supply and fit an analog meter. Can he disconnect the old one, or should he just connect it? The other problem is Utility Warehouse fitted my meter years ago, and I've just found out it's a smart meter and I want it out of the house. It's by my front door. Any help would be gratefully received." From Fiona. Who would like to take that on? Dean.
If I could answer that with, I've got no clue about what is going on there, so I'm not sure.
Right. Thanks.
That's helpful, Dean.
That was so.
But you're honest.
It sounds as if that she doesn't want a meter because they want to. As I remember it, she sent a few emails to me, and I think she's been plagued, as many people are, to have a smart meter.
Yeah.
And she's sort of
She
said, "No,
wants
I
out.
don't want one." And they keep going, "Well, I'm sorry, you're going to have one because your current meters are going to run out at some point." So
Yeah.
she's
These corporations obviously say these things.
yes.
Is she going to be directed by them, or is she not?
But she's got one.
But I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. Is she going to do? But the trouble is, unlike yourself, who clearly has a lot of gumption and is doing this, I get the impression that she's, and I hope she won't take this the wrong way if she's watching, but she's a frail little old lady who has been brought up in a certain way and doesn't necessarily know, and is feeling bullied by these people. So having listened to the show, she thought, "Oh, I can replace the meter." So I think she's just asking, should she replace it? So will that get rid of Octopus Energy off her back, or does that open another can of worms? And then she realised that she's had another meter fitted, and that is a smart meter, and she wants a shot of it. Oh, allegedly Dave is coming back.
There's that many meters in that sentence. I don't really know is the answer.
Right, fair enough.
How many meters has she got? One?
Well, it sounds like she's got two.
Two?
Because yeah.
2 meters in the house.
Well, I think one is a smart meter that she didn't know about, and one is a electric meter, as in an analog one, and they want to replace the analog one with a smart one. So she's probably got something on the wall that she was unaware of, and she's got a analog meter. Now, whether they're both connected, I have no idea. I haven't been round there. I don't know.
Yeah, there's 2 meters. Normally, there's just one on the incoming source of electric. It sounds a bit weird that there's 2.
Right, okay. So we need to just clear that up. David Edelman, yes.
Yeah, sounds like she's collecting meters. But aside from that,
she's selling them on eBay for $9.99 if you're interested.
She might have 2 properties. She might have 2 flats.
Yeah. On a philosophical note, when you say, I don't want, you revert to childhood, because it's the child that says to mum and dad, I don't want to go to bed early. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to go to bed early. The way to boost your sovereignty score is to stop saying what you do or don't want and to start asking questions like, who are you to tell me that I have to do A, B, or C? Where is the obligation for me to do A, B, or C? So you stay cool, you stay calm, and all those questions that we never, ever in 15 years of schooling ever asked our school teacher, because in this school you can't say why, you can't ask why, and you can't say no. You know, it's all interconnected. The reason why we struggle so much with so-called authority is because they put us through the schooling system and we learnt to be compliant, obedient, and fearful of authority. And that's the catch-up game that we're playing.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, no, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So really, at the end of the day, if you don't require these things and you'd rather not have them, then she said, well, I'm not having it, that's the end of it. And what can they do? They can say, well, you'll have to find yourself another supplier. Fine, bye. And there you go, because you don't have to be supplied by that particular company. And if there's no other companies, I don't think they can actually chop you off.
No, they can't.
Well, they can chop you up, but they can't chop you off.
No, apparently.
Just a nitpick, they don't really supply, they're just a billing agent.
No. They're
Well,
a broker,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And
Brilliant.
they're not very nice, Octopus. I know that. I'm having an issue with them.
I'm with
Allegedly, they're not very nice.
Allegedly.
I'm with Octopus as well, and I've already explained to them that they have to prove that I have a contract with them. Well, I didn't actually have a contract with them. They basically Shell Energy transferred their retail. They sold the retail part of Shell Energy was sold to Octopus Energy. So Octopus Energy have basically taken over all the customer accounts that were previously Shell customer accounts. So I'm now challenging Octopus in the same way I was challenging Shell, and they haven't come back to me. In fact, I've actually just sent off a new letter to them to explain to them that the situation has changed and they actually owe me all the money that they claim I owe them, because my signature basically created the credit so that they could then charge it back as debt. So they now owe me all that money that they claim I owe them.
By the way, if anyone would like to have an account and save £50 with Octopus Energy, just look for the link that's not in my description. But I do know other people do that and have that conversation. You won't find a link for that. Do we have another question?
Yeah, we do. I thought you were going to read yours. Oh, somebody.
Oh, hang on, Dean. Sorry, Dean.
Could I just make one point on that? Is that just for general knowledge, is one point that Rebecca just mentioned there, is that she's looking for a contract. So there is no need for a wet signature contract for an agreement/contract to exist. It is what's called implied. I will give you an example of how this works in the commercial world. So a man walks into a restaurant and he is hungry, so he's going to buy some fish and chips. So he sits down, he reads the menu, sees that there's fish and chips on the menu. The waiter comes over. The waiter says, "What would you like?" And the man says, "I would like fish and chips." The waiter reads back the fact that he wants fish and chips. He confirms it. She goes away into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, the fish and chips comes out and he eats the food. Now, during that whole process, nobody has written anything, but it is still enforceable. If he was to walk out, he could be done. So to look for a wet signature is not always true. It's not always needed. It's implied.
It's interesting you say that. Let me just interrupt here, because I was once at the Grand Hotel in Brighton, not with a bomb to blow up Margaret Thatcher, and I remember I was waiting there to see a client for something, and the waiter came over, and I was just sort of sitting there waiting, and he just came over and said, "Would you like some tea?" And I said, "Oh, that's very kind of you, thank you very much." And he came with this tea and biscuits and all this sort of peripheral, and I was sort of sitting there still waiting for this client for a job that I was doing. And then came the bill for £7. And I said, "What's this?"
Right.
He said, "It's for the..." Pardon?
because it was implied.
Implied.
It was implied. Well, he just offered me tea, as if I mean, if somebody came to my house and said, "Would you like tea?" And I said to him, "Would you like tea?" and they say yes, I wouldn't then go and charge. Oh, so they are. This is £7. Thank you very much.
If you step out of your front door in the real world, you can't take something without giving them compensation of your fellow man and woman.
Right. Well, I mean, I did
exchange.
argue the point with them, and they didn't charge me in the end because I said, "Oh, he just asked me. He just asked me." I didn't order it. He just inquired, after my well-being.
Yes, whilst you're sitting, nice cup of tea, sir.
So I did get away with that one. Sorry,
Can I
David.
bring this? Yeah, can I bring this back to the the billing agent and the energy so-called supplier? Implied contracts can be implied through course of conduct. So if you have not offered their meter back, if you've not sent them a notice of termination of implied contract and a notice to offer the return of their property, then they will presume that the implied contract, through the fact that the electricity or gas is coming via the meter, is in full force. So it would help to bring that implied contract to an end using the power of conscious choice, basically. Just say, "Thank you very much, but you can now take your meter back. I'm going to make my own arrangements." And when they ask you what arrangements are those, data protection.
Is it possible? So I know allegedly Dave wants to answer the question, but can I just ask this? I mean, this might sound a bit far-fetched, but I've on this show have been told that electricity doesn't actually now go through the wire; it goes on the wire. So could you tap on the wire and pull the current before it hits the meter, so it's not going through their meter at all? But you haven't. I mean, if you can do this, if the electricity is on the meter, let's just say for the sake of scientific, there's a revelation and that's actually where it's travelling. Could you then just say, well, look, it's just coming into my house because it's actually on the wire rather than in the wire, and then I just use it as if like daylight is coming through the window. I just use it.
There's okay, so for it to work, right, it has to go through the, come in through the live and out through the neutral back to them. You could, go from live to earth, but that will trip something called the RSD. Right, so it won't
the
work.
Planet blows up.
No, but it would work because essentially, live to earth is a route for the energy, but it will trip residual. I can't remember RSD. I can't remember.
At their end or my end?
It's like a breaker that will trip. When
Residual
it
current
senses
device,
it goes to earth.
Dave. Residual current device.
Yeah. It will trip that, and so it won't work for you.
Yeah.
But essentially you can do that, But I was actually going to say about the contract. As David was saying, if you can accept a contract by your performance, by acting as though there is a contract. But my favourite phrase to use in one of my notices is, "It has come to my attention." Right? That basically says, yes, I've been acting like there's a contract, but new information. I've got new information that makes me say that, okay, I'm going to have to challenge this. So that then you can start, because yes, you've been going along with this contract and acting as if it has been a contract. But if you get new information, now you can challenge it. The second point is that no, you haven't got an actual contract. What you've got is an unwritten assumed agreement, right? And because it's an unwritten assumed agreement, that's why they can suddenly decide, you know what, we're going to put our prices up, and they don't have to consult with you because it's just an agreement. Yes. But here's the thing: it works both ways. If they can just change the terms and conditions of this assumed agreement, well, so can you. So you can suddenly say, yeah, okay, I know that we're on an assumed, unwritten assumed agreement. So I'm going to pay this much from now on.
I like that. I'm going to have to just write that down.
And the word, because we're talking about words, the word assume is very interesting, because if you'd ever seen the Benny Hill show many years ago. Did you ever see it?
Oh, there
He
we are.
said the word
Copyright
assume,
strike.
be careful, because it could make an ass out of you and me, which spells assume. Did anybody ever see that?
No.
We're watching allegedly Dave get his clean.
Oh, sorry. I beg
right
your
there.
No, we're not. That's the screen that
Oh,
goes out.
I'm watching.
You're watching allegedly Dave. There he is. He's sort of.
And
Anyway,
to honour this assumed agreement, you can stop paying by direct debit and start paying by standing order, and pay what you feel is comfortable or right. And that's why they use direct debit, just to maintain control over your payments. But just pay. You know, all those people out there that say they're in financial crisis. Now, I don't dispute that there is financial crisis, but part of the problem is that people are not taking full control over their own finances, and they're just almost in a trance-like state, watching while their bank accounts are being cleansed by direct debits. Well, change them to standing orders and nominate your own payments. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, that's very good advice.
Because also,
not that we give advice,
no,
but you know,
no,
it's
suggestion.
a sensible suggestion.
Because also direct debits, they can take the whole amount, can't they? They can take up the money that they want to take out.
Yes.
I've got a question. Did you want to go for a question?
I did a question, Lars. You do a question.
All right. So Stuart asks, and I think this is a good one, will a cashless society make it easier for government to pass money laundering off as foreign aid? Cashless society, as if.
It will make it easier for the government to do all sorts of things against us, everything against us. If we allow them to get this cashless society in, it's game over for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. Because
you say that, but would we not just have an alternative cash that we would use?
Bartering,
I mean,
locally.
it might be bartering, but we might come up with our own
crypto
IOUs, promissory notes, other sort of systems.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not be able to deal with the big corporations, but
Yeah.
that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah,
right,
do it locally
well,
perhaps.
But you know that this is this is where they want to take the world. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They want to take the
Absolutely.
world there. So as soon as they bring it in, the first thing they're going to do is start attacking us. Doing anything other than their system. That it's universal. They want it for everybody. So.
But surely, if we've got blockchain, if we're using Bitcoin and all those other cryptocurrencies, Dave say no, because that isn't government led, is it? They don't know where that money's come from.
It is, right?
Is it? Okay.
Okay, so I was a computer programmer in 2008 when all Bitcoin came out. And we thought it was fishy back then because the code, nobody took responsibility for the code, and when they did, nobody knew who the hell it was.
Yeah.
We've since found out that the algorithm behind it, SHA-256, it was written by the NSA. So
who's the NSA?
the National Security Agency or something like that, the
Right.
American, and essentially, if they created the encryption behind it, right, and all these bitcoins forked off the same code, right, they've got a back door into all of them, right. So essentially, the crypto is the invisible money that they've always wanted us to have, and just like when they got the Federal Reserve in, they pretended to be against it, right, so that the muggles thought, oh, the banks don't like it, so it must be good. So they released cryptocurrency out to the masses, so that we would start adopting it, and then they can seamlessly what's the word I'm looking for? Seamlessly transfer over to their system, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you've got your own crypto system, right? It's going to be one crypto to rule them all, and it's going to be the government crypto.
And just before Dean gets in with the wordplay on crypt. Well, what do you keep in a crypt?
Dead people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And blockchain is where the chain is blocked.
The chain
isn't
is
it?
blocked.
The chain is blocked on blockchain.
The
Dean.
drain is blocked.
Yeah,
Just one point is that how do you get onto these things like blockchain? How do you get on?
On the computer.
So who controls the devices that you use?
The baddies.
The bad.
Da-da-da.
Own question.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, if you haven't got to me, something like gold or silver, whether somebody else is controlling the current price of it, but whatever it is, if you've got a physical object in your hand or pocket, then nobody else can interfere with it. But if you're using crypto and things like that, it's not for me at all. I just
and
do
it's
not
traceable. They know exactly what you're doing with, as somebody, Pat says, it's very traceable. Every transaction, they know what's what. But
Can I just add that?
Sorry, can I just
Dave.
quickly?
Just
Rebecca.
moving forward. Oh,
Can I just?
Sorry,
Who
Rebecca.
go first? As someone who's unfortunately having to use the system at the moment until I can sort of be completely independent, the Department for Work and Pensions, as you know, which is a corporation, has been trying every trick in the book to try and get everybody off legacy benefits, as they call it. That's employment support allowance and what used to be disability living allowance. Onto universal credit, as they call it. Universal credit basically is a completely digitized system, which means that everything that you do in regards to the Department for Work and Pensions, they have complete control over. And you have to actually submit a journal, I think it's called a journal or something, and you have to tell them, you know, what kind of work when you're looking for work, and they can actually see in real time if you're actually doing anything. That's bad enough, but now they're talking about having complete access to your bank account. And because you're essentially in their digital system, they will now be able to have access to your bank account. Now, to take that a step further, if we're talking about smart technology and smartphones, the longer that we are dependent on smartphones, the longer that we remain essentially trapped in the system, and we have to find a way to get away from that system, which obviously isn't easy because we've become so used to using electronics to make our lives a lot easier, computerized systems and so forth. So I think bartering, ultimately, or something along those lines where you're actually trading tangible goods is the way out of this. Because if we carry on thinking where everything's going to be solved using digital technology, the blockchain and all the rest of it, if the power goes out, there is no way to access your account because it's digitized. We have to start thinking in terms of analog, and even possibly, you know, going back to tangible goods to trade. It doesn't have to be money. It can be a service for a service, you know. And that's what I think we need to do. What we need to do now is start thinking about that seriously. And that's my personal view.
Can I jump
David,
in?
Please.
Moving forward, what we will really be having to do is redefine everything. And one of the major things to redefine is the concept of wealth. And I have a triune of wealth. The new wealth will be your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health, your skill set, and your community or your connections. Tying those all together, that will be your new wealth. Anything else will just be a bonus. But that's moving forward, that's where we're heading. Those of us who are not going to get trapped in their matrix metaverse, it will be, because as we're seeing, as people are dropping dead or dying or being hospitalized or being taken out in some way, we're realizing that if we are well, or as near as damn it well, we are the blessed ones. We're the ones that are fighting the good fight, and you don't need a bank account to do that. You just need to stand firm and keep going.
Very, very valid point. Yeah.
Can I pick up on what Rebecca was saying there, because we've got a question from Moonhawk actually that talks about the same thing. The sick and disabled are being terrorised by job centres and universal credit. How can this be stopped is the question. Have you got any comments on that, Rebecca?
Yes. First of all, I would say, and this is it's very easy for me to say this, but you really must realize that you actually hold the power, and these people are going to bully you, and they're going to try every trick in the book to bully you, and they're going to say, well, if you don't follow these, if you don't do what we say, we'll stop your benefits. that is a threat, and so obviously is a threat that should be challenged. And I've already started challenging the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments, who book the work capability assessments, which are essentially interrogations. That's what they are, to stop you any way they can, basically from getting the money that you're entitled to. Now, what I would say is that whoever in the case of this person who's just posed the question, I would say, first of all, you need to get the name of the individual. If it's a job coach, for example, work coach, you need to get the name of that individual, because you're not going to be able to go after the head of the corporation or, for example, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, because they're too high up the chain. So you need to hold your local job centre accountable, and you need to actually try and find out who these people are. Don't just roll over and don't fill in any forms, because by filling in a form, you're basically giving tacit agreement that you're bound by the terms and conditions of the agreement that they think that you should comply with. So that's what I would say. Start to actually hold them accountable, ask them questions. And don't back down until you've got an answer. Don't back down, make sure they give you an answer. That's what I've got to say.
Thanks, Rebecca. Dean?
Yeah, so just further on what Rebecca has said there, is that if they are, let's say, making verbal threats, as in you are going to lose your benefits, because that verbal threat probably wouldn't go down on the paper. So it might be a tactic that you use to use a discrete recording device of some nature. So if you feel that you are going to be sort of targeted and threatened in that way, use some type of recording device discreetly.
Yeah, please do, David.
It's something that I think I mentioned the last time I was on the call, but we should always consider, when we're being bullied by an agency or an institution, we should always consider the remedy that we have in their rules, which is criminal exploitation, Section 1 as defined in Section 3, subsection 5 of the Modern Slavery Act 2015. Which is inducing a service, in this case, giving data, offering signatures, which becomes negotiable instruments through threats or force. So you wouldn't accuse anyone of that, but you would ask them, again, the power of the question, are you sure, can you be sure that by threatening me the way that you're threatening, that you're not committing a criminal act according to the Modern Slavery Act 2015?
See, that's very good. I wonder what they would say to that, sitting there facing you. In America and in Canada, they have something called criminal coercion. We don't have it as such here, and the closest thing we have, in my opinion anyway, is the Modern Slavery Act 2015. Which, of course, is it's their system, which you're quoting back, so they can't argue against it.
Well, what I did is I used the Novation Agreement as an argument against Maximus UK Services Limited, who are basically a third-party interloper working on behalf of the Department for Work and Pensions. I said, well, where's the agreement? Where's my signature? Where did I agree to these terms and conditions? And they can't come back on it because there was no agreement. It was just assumed that the Department for Work and Pensions, who use all these private for-profit companies like Maximus UK Services Limited, who do basically work capability assessments through the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments, they basically oversee, if you like, the operation of the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments, who actually do the bookings on behalf of the DWP. So as far as I'm concerned, what they're doing is that they're trying to claim that, Maximus UK Services Limited, have an agreement with you, even though you don't. So I've challenged them on that, and they've gone very quiet. I've now sent them through the Centre for Health and Disability Assessments. I've now sent them 3 notices and there's still sort of wondering how they're going to respond, because I've had a number of replies and I've kept the original letters because they've actually been signed and everything, as so that I can then use it if I need to use it going forward. So, you know, so I am applying, if you like, some of the techniques I've learnt, you know, to actually use against the Department for Work and Pensions.
That's what we need people to try it out. I know Rich is calling up a question here that he's had previously, but is this on the same subject? It's about Motability, a Motability scheme. I don't know what that is. This is from Jim, also known as Womble. Mm-hmm. This question, he says, I'm on the Motability scheme and have had my car for extended time over 4 years, so nearly paid for the car. Motability won't let me buy it, even though I have nearly paid for the car. What are my rights? I mean, I don't know what the Motability scheme is. I don't know if that's the same as mobility.
I think it's an adapted car. Funny enough, I once had to make videos for a company that sold Motability cars, and they are cars that have been ordinary cars that are adapted, say 3 years old, right? That brand new-ish and adapted, and then they're paying for them. But you know, I suppose it's down to the agreement that they've signed.
That's what I was just gonna say. It sounds like a contract issue, and you'd have to look in the contract to see what you've agreed to. And if you've agreed to it, there's not much you can do about it, really.
So always check check the small print. Read the small print.
So another of the emails that came in a while back, and this one is, this morning I got a nice letter from DCBL bailiffs about an unpaid car park charge back in 2020 because their online machine was down. I called the bailiffs and they were babbling on about collection this money with the heavy-handed voice, and that if I can't pay it, they'll sort out a repayments plan. I'm super skint due to the hospitals being shut down when I needed treatment on my spine/nerves, and have got into debt as I could no longer afford my lifestyle as it was. Anyway, I sorted out a IVA debt recovery thing for bank loans and overdrafts, etc., that I was paying off. The second I mentioned that, the voice changed back to the nice bloke from the bailiffs, from the scary one before. If you're running an insolvency IVA, bailiffs tend to request back to the client and drop it. They can't do anything while you're under the terms of IVA. Does anybody know anything about that?
Is it an individual voluntary agreement that basically it's the step up from bankruptcy?
When you say the step up, you mean one step away from it?
Let's say bankruptcy is the lowest level you could achieve.
Right.
It's up from that.
So in other words, they clearly know that they're not going to get any money because you're on. So I mean, he only mentioned it. He didn't have to prove it. They just dropped the case. So whether people can just, oh yes, I'm on an IVA, mate. Not, making sure it's not an IV. What's the thing you have a drip in?
The other thing. It's an IVA, isn't it?
An IV.
An IV trip. I'm on an IV trip. But so maybe that's just it's not so much a question, I suppose, as more as a thing.
Statement.
Yeah.
A thing to say. Somebody said they can't hear me and they can't hear Allegedly Dave. I can hear Allegedly Dave very clear, and I've just moved my microphone. Maybe people don't want to hear me.
Some of the volume is different. I keep getting this all the time with emails from people saying that
can't hear you,
but then I'm only at the mercy of what the sound comes to me.
Yes, so maybe they can turn their volume up at their end. I mean that respectfully.
I know Dave's a little bit quiet, but I can still hear him.
I can hear him. I've got a question.
Go for it.
Roger O. Manners. Question: £10 banknotes have written in very small text, Bank of England promised to pay the bearer £10. This is a promissory note. Promising £10 of what?
Good question.
What are they promising?
That is a good question, because there isn't an answer to it. All right, £10 of what? Nothing. If you go.
Hold on.
Oh, Dean.
Oh, Dean's got something.
Hang on a minute. Sorry, Dave.
A slight delay here.
Go on, Dean.
Go on, Dean.
No, I've got a slight delay here. That was
is that
delayed before.
Oh,
Dave-
that was I beg your pardon.
Oh.
All right. Sorry, Dave. Technical issue.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if you go to the Bank of England with your £20 note and slap it on the counter and say, I want my money, right? They're going to give you 2 tens, kick you out of there, shut the door behind you and call the police. because they don't want the game, right, sort of revealed. Yeah, because if you ask that question, £10 of what? Yeah, that's the whole house of cards falling
Comes
apart.
tumbling down, yeah. I mean, presumably at one point it was gold.
Yeah.
Silver.
Silver.
Yeah, pound sterling.
Right. Yes. Sterling silver.
Oh, now we know.
Aren't we clever?
We
There
are.
was also-
You know, the penny, you can see the penny
Yeah,
going.
we're going to be on
There's
that
also-
side soon. Clever clogs.
I was going to say, there was also the pound sign used to have 2 lines for it. That
Yes.
actually means pound. Now it's got 1 line. It doesn't mean pound anymore. It means something else.
Well, you learn something
Every day.
That's right. I mean, as a kid, we used to do that.
Yeah.
Bum, bum. You learnt how to do it.
Da-da-da.
It's only got 1 line. Do you know I never noticed that? I wonder how many other people have not noticed that.
I noticed it because I went to Dave's course the other week and I remember.
And I'm looking on my keyboard now to see where the
Right.
pound sign is.
So,
Oh,
somebody's
yeah.
asked,
It's only got 1 on it.
Somebody's asked allegedly, Dave, have you gone back to Basildon?
No, I live there. I grew up there, but yeah, I don't. Who wants to go back to Basildon?
I don't know. Maybe somebody who lives there. Can you? That's from Steve Ray. Did you know Steve Ray?
No.
Oh, Steve, how you doing?
I used to juggle
in
in
Basildon?
Basildon and the
Paper.
no,
Basildon Bonds.
no, in the shopping centre. God awful
What
place
did you
that
juggle?
was.
Oranges?
I used to juggle. I used to do robotics and all those sort of
Oh,
things.
and that briefcase thing.
And that was the days the kids would just come up and I would be a robot and they'd kick me in the nuts. It was nice. Nice place at Basildon.
Basildon. Welcome to Basildon.
That's why you've not gone back.
Yeah, I used to hate it when the agent rang up and says, "Hey, Richard, do you fancy doing a shift at Basildon?" No, not really. Not if I can
nuts
help
and
it.
bolts. Nuts
I
and
was
bolts.
too impecunious. Now, I've got a question here from Amanda.
Could I answer that other question as well from Manners?
Yes.
Is it? So
Go
you
for
could
it.
just read out what he says about the writing, please.
The writing. Which question was that? Just give me again. I'm looking for it.
Who asked it?
Karen, you just read out a question, and
Did
it
I?
said something about the writing
About the promissory note.
of the £10 note. Could you read
Yeah.
out what he has put?
Oh.
What he's put, I promised to pay.
Yeah, hang on.
I'm going to have to get a £10
I
note
promised to
out.
pay.
Okay,
Bearer.
right. So
Oh, here
read
it
out
is.
what he
Right,
put.
£10 banknotes have written in very small text, Bank of England promised to pay the bearer £10. This is a promissory note promising £10 of what?
Okay, so where has he got that from? Is he saying that is on the £10 note? Because I can't
Yes.
see it. Because all I can see is sign language or dog Latin.
Because it's in capitalisation.
Oh, Dean.
So it's not on there.
But it is on there, but it's in their language. Is it on there?
Not on there. It's not on there.
Thanks. Bank of England.
That's a very interesting. I mean, that's a very interesting point. I promised to pray that. Yeah,
Because it's in capitals.
Because it's in capitals.
Right, thanks.
Hang on a minute. Something going on here.
I promise to pay you. I'll bring you some cake next week.
You brought cake this week,
I
but
did.
don't tell the panel because they didn't get any.
I know.
Since
No,
it's,
Julia offered it, actually. I think, didn't you offer cake and biscuits to everybody at the beginning?
Sorry, Rebecca.
Yes.
yeah, since it says I promised to pay the bearer the sum of in pounds or whatever, couldn't you get them like £10 worth of potatoes? It doesn't say you can't pay them in potatoes, does it? It
No.
doesn't say you can't use anything else apart from promissory notes. It just says
Can those potatoes be mouldy ones?
They
They
could
could.
be, could
They're not
be.
good for you, I've just learnt this week. They're poisonous. Part of the deadly nightshade family, so we shouldn't be
Oh,
eating them.
it doesn't say anything. It's only in your mind. You are interpreting it to say something that it doesn't say
Because it's in capitals.
because it's in,
because it's not English. If it had been written in Chinese, would you still be saying, or would that Roger be saying that it says such and such.
No, we'd be going like this. We'd be going, wouldn't we?
What does it say? We don't know what it says because it's in dog Latin.
Right. And so is it there to confuse us?
It's there and just another part of their
Trick.
deception. It's just another illusion.
Another little trick.
So
Yeah, it's a party trick. So there's 10 people in a village that owed each other £10, and they just passed that note around, and all the debt of the entire village was extinguished by one little note.
So yes, sorry, David, and I've heard that, and it's a great story. If only we could do it to all our debts.
Yeah, but can you imagine if we took all these promissory notes in and said, "Can we have our money?"
Well, I don't know, but I think
chaos,
Dean's point
wouldn't it?
is it's not saying that it's
not
not saying I'll pay the
exactly,
bearer.
No, it's not.
And
because
not only-
actually,
Not
no,
only
it means
that,
nothing. It's meaningless.
not only that is that those notes are not yours. You are only the holder of it.
Yeah.
It is not your paper or plastic as they are now.
Give it back then, please, Richard.
pardon?
Can you give it back then, please?
No, wait, no. So hang on, let's just go through that argument then, because I've heard this. Sovereign Pete told me this, and he said everything you've purchased with those notes or with fiat currency, it doesn't belong to you. So everything in this studio, I'm not saying this publicly, but in theory, it could be in a studio, allegedly in a studio, where the things that the person who was operating the studio had purchased them, but he purchased them with these notes, and therefore he does not own them.
Well, I would say to that is that that's a slightly different argument to me stating that the notes themselves are not yours.
Right.
They belong to the Bank of England.
But they gave them to you. If somebody gives you
You're
something,
only ever the holder. You're only ever the holder of it.
but would that be in the case if I give you a mug, and I've got a nice mug here. Here's a mug, and I give that to you. Are you the owner of that mug, or are you just the holder? I mean, you would
Keeper,
be.
maybe the keeper.
That's what I would call good faith. So you are giving me some energy in exchange for something else. That's simply good faith. But
Right.
to say that the paper thing itself is ours, we're only ever the holder.
But well, who says that though?
It's not ours. It's not our property. We didn't make it.
I can give you a view of this, make it a bit plainer. If you imagine you're lying in bed on a Sunday and you send your little boy out down to the shops with a promissory note, right? And your friend John, the greengrocer or the grocer, right? On the note it says, "Please give little Timmy a week's worth of shopping. You know I'm good for it. I'll pay you back when I see you," right? So
Yeah.
John the greengrocer's like, "Okay, I know he's good for that. So yeah, here's a week's worth of shopping," right? So John goes down the road and he has a blowout in his car. So he goes down to Baz, the garage, and says, "Oh, I haven't got any money. Will you accept this promissory note? It's worth a week's worth of shopping." So yeah, Baz will take that. Baz then goes down the pub, and Pete, the landlord, says, "You owe me for your drinks bill." He goes, "Well, I ain't got any money on me, but will you accept this promissory note? It's worth a week's worth of shopping," and so on and so on and so on. Well, who owns everything that promissory note pays for?
But
Right.
no, I'm talking about the promissory note itself. Actually, the promissory note is an
Bit of
obligation.
paper.
It is the creator that owns it, not the one who it gets passed on to.
That's what I'm trying to say. The one who creates the promissory note now owns everything that promissory note pays for, right? Because you're the one who's making the original promise.
What? But I suppose I still don't. I mean, call me thick, and
No, I
people
don't get it
do.
either.
No, I do understand that point. I do understand, but my argument, the contrary argument, would be, even though it's a bit of paper with words on it, which may be in English or in any other thing, if I give that to you, there you go. That's yours.
Yeah.
That's hers.
Yeah. That's
Does
what
it?
I
It doesn't
understand, yeah.
matter. I mean,
No,
I
it's
know
not
you
yours
said I haven't
anymore, yeah.
originated the bit of paper.
The value that's attached to that promissory note comes from the one who wrote the promissory note.
Right. So the bank. Oh, okay. I guess that makes. So it's not actually the bit of paper itself. It's the value.
The promise.
Yes,
The promise.
but as the banknotes are, they're empty promises because there's nothing
Yeah.
behind them.
You know,
So they can't
It's
honour
another
them.
trick.
So nobody can honour them.
Well, that's on my promissory notes. I actually put, so I promise to pay bearer the sum of whatever, subsequent to the Bank of England honouring their promissory notes.
Right. Very good like that. Very
it is
switched on.
very yes.
Okay, let's shift on. We have just over half an hour, 35 minutes left. If you want to get a question in, get it in now with the word question in dog Latin in front of it. And in other words, in capitalisation, so it's not on the page. Amanda asked, how do you make a private agreement between... Well, how does she make a private agreement between her daughter and herself? And how do I make a will?
Private agreement, just say, let's make an agreement, daughter.
Yes. And nobody else need know. It's between the two of you. Yeah. And I suppose if you want to write it down on a bit of paper and say, I agree to this and I agree to that, and you get a witness just to say, yeah, they agreed. Is that about it?
There you go. That's it.
Same as trust, isn't it?
Yeah. And as far as a will goes, I wonder if she means without a solicitor.
Yeah, just be mindful that a will fall into probate.
Right. And what does that mean? Probate's...
It means the scavengers and the vultures come in and take their share first.
Yes. So don't...
So what's the alternative if you know you're going to be leaving something behind when you depart this earth?
I think she partly alluded to it herself in the question, a private agreement. You can call it whatever you wish, but keep stuff private, in your own family. You can divvy stuff up.
Yes. So you could say to, if you were my daughter, I could say, look, I'm going to give you all this stuff. You can have it now, but I'll just look after it until I'm dead. And you could make a private agreement. Then when you're dead, you say, well, she was only borrowing it. She said, I'll have it back now. I hope that's not upset anybody.
I'm sure it hasn't, Richard.
I'm sure
we're
I
trying to
shall
help
get
people,
papers
aren't we?
served on me.
We're trying to help. Here, George Murray Moorhead. How can we pay these fake bills with their fake money?
How do you mean, how can we pay it with their
How do you mean, George? How can they pay it? Well,
you can't. You can only effect payment because you can't pay a debt with a debt.
Okay.
You can't. If the promissory notes are debts, they're I'm promising to pay, it's a debt. So you can't pay a debt with a debt. You can only effect payment, right? So that's it. I think I bought a car with 2 ounces of silver, so I used real money.
Yes.
To buy it.
Gosh, 2 ounces of silver sounds quite a nice cheap car.
Yeah, because that's an impressive car. What was it?
It doesn't matter.
No, of course no.
No, I'm being funny, but 2 ounces of silver, yeah. It's a principle, isn't it?
But 2 ounces of silver is still more than,
It's more than a bit of paper.
Yes.
Yes.
Porsche in the end, yeah.
Yeah. Stuart O'Neill says, I sent my council tax back with brackets, no contract, etc. And that was the end of March. What can I expect?
A fake court case and a liability order, which doesn't exist, and then pretend bailiff trying to intimidate you into paying.
There you go.
In one word, pantomime.
Yes.
Pantomime. Keep fighting it. Steve Ray asks, when a DCA responds to a letter saying they are not the data controller, but the original company who created the debt via Northampton Court, are the DCA just a third-party interloper, and can they be sued for GDPR, PDA? I don't know what the PDA is for.
What's GDPR?
Information, private information.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? That was a long question.
I don't know about the GDPR part, but when a debt collecting agency make a claim with Northampton County Court, right? They make a claim. They're pretending to be the one who owns the debt. That's what that's the only way they can do it. They're saying the debt is owed to us, right? So when you get one of their claim forms and the particular saying, the claimant is owed this much, well, the claimant in this case is a DCA. who isn't the claimant really. So you can say, I do not owe any money to this claimant, and you basically rebut every statement. Now,
Rebut it.
if they go forward with it, now they have to prove that they are the actual claimant, which they're not, and they haven't even got any proof of assignment that they're actually working on behalf of the actual claimant, because all they did was buy the debt.
And can I just go back to this is for you, Dave. So George, who asked the previous question, he's agreeing with you. Can you remember the previous question? I think that was
really.
about the
No,
promissory note,
remind
wasn't
us.
it? Well, he was saying that's exactly what I'm meaning, Dave. So couldn't we say this to them about their bills? This is about the promissory notes, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, but we're all pretending that this is all real.
Yes, pantomime again.
Yes, it's pantomime. We're all pretending, right? And the money has only got the value that we all agree that it has. Okay. So the mass of muggles out there, they all agree that a £10 note is worth something, right? But they can drop the pretense when it's us trying to use it, with them, because again, the public opinion is on their side.
So not as easy as the questioner wanted to ask. I've got another question here. The last of the emailed questions in. I can't remember what this is, but I said I'd ask the panel. I've watched a few of your videos, Richard. The one was You Are Not a Person, and the others with Gary Waterman, the policeman, ex-policeman. I recently had a case in court where I realised what was really going on, and I've only been studying this for 6 to 8 months, and I believe what happened was unlawful. I was following the acts from the video that You Are Not the Person and tried to find the Irish version. Oh yes, so this is what he wants to ask about, whether the Irish legal system is the same as the English legal system. They didn't really adopt a Bill of Rights in Ireland. I realised they had amended the definition in 2005 to include individual and subsequent use of any pronouns. Would this be a 2005 update? Would it be valid or not? And is there any stuff in? Is there any contacts who can help him with Irish legal knowledge? I think he's asking. Dave.
Well, first of all, is it Ireland or Northern Ireland? Because I'm not sure. There could be a difference here.
Right. He says Ireland, which I assume he means Southern Ireland, as in the Isle of Ireland.
Okay, so
as opposed...
Ireland is part of the EU. Now I'm not sure. I don't know. But if it's part of the EU, it might not be a common law country. I don't.
Right.
I'm assuming it is because of its proximity to us, but I don't know, because if it's like the same as the rest of Europe, then they use Napoleonic law, which is you're guilty until proven innocent, which is a fundamental difference from the way we do it. So,
although the way the system is working in this country does seem that they've adopted that principle as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. But they can't get rid of it in this country.
So, does just as a follow-up then, if a country like Ireland, Southern Ireland, was following the sort of British way of doing law, and then joins the EU, I suppose they could change how they do law subject to their treaty.
Yep.
So that would just change automatically. So the answer to the Kelly, who writes that in, is I have no idea.
Yeah.
But thank you for the question. I don't know if anybody else wants to answer any of that. No.
Well, back in the day with the free men on land, there was a big contingent from Ireland, and so they were operating in the same way we were. So it appears to me that they're using the same system, but again, I don't know, because there's been a lot of shenanigans to do with EU membership. So I don't know.
I do get quite a few Irish viewers, actually. So if any of those are watching and of similar people who like the Clever Clogs panel here, let me know, and I'll try and forward a message on to that particular correspondent. I'll do my best.
And maybe even get them on the panel.
And
Yeah,
I mean, it's
get in
always
touch
good to
with us
get
and
different people on.
Can I just add something?
Of course.
Sorry, can I just jump in quickly? I thought the Southern Ireland was a republic, and before the EU essentially took over Ireland, the Northern Ireland was under the jurisdiction of the British, which essentially is the Crown Corporation. You know, so what is the whole of Ireland now under EU jurisdiction, including the Republic, what used to be known as Republic of Ireland?
Right, good question. David?
Just a reminder that we can sometimes overcomplicate things. And all I would say is that we must always remember that if we are filling out forms, answering questions, answering to a legal name, pleading guilty or not guilty, we are trapping ourselves in their system wherever we are.
Right.
So what we need to do is always constantly remind ourselves of that and act accordingly, or conduct ourselves accordingly. And wherever possible, always be the one that is asking the questions. Sovereigns, whatever you understand by the word sovereign, sovereign is the one that asks the questions. Sovereigns do not answer questions ever. And they answer a question with a question.
And it is very difficult to sort of keep that mindset when you've spent X many years in the other system, in the old system. And you're quite right. You know, as soon as you said that, I was nodding away, going, "Well, bloody of course, it makes perfect sense."
It's in the word asking as king.
As king.
As king.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, why do you think they send us to school for 15 years? Because that's where we learn to answer questions and never ask them, and therefore surrender our sovereignty by the time we're 16.
Yeah.
There's a good book about sending kids to school or not sending. I'm just looking around to see if I can throw it up by somebody called David Edelman. School, not a good place for children, I believe it's called.
I heard
just
it was crap. I don't know.
Don't listen to that man.
He'll be serving you papers if you're not careful. Anyway.
Right. Tony Wells has got a question because we've got 20 minutes left.
Yes.
Is your name and number of a birth certificate and national insurance number classed as a promissory note by a contract?
Oh.
Well, can I answer that?
Yes, please.
Did whoever is answering the question, did they have any involvement in it? So it can't be of any value to them, surely.
They weren't there.
They didn't create it. Is that what you mean?
They didn't create it.
So it's got nothing to do with them.
What has it got to do with them?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, this is something that I always find when we get into the birth certificate stuff, and you know, we've all got to sort of answer to it, and you just think, well, if they've set up that system, if they've, even with your mum and dad, now that I'm 18, I'm not 18 now, but when I was 18 or I'm over 18, I don't have to abide by any of that nonsense. I can call myself Fred Bloggs if I wish and go around being Fred Bloggs. I don't have to be associated with this name created so-called at birth. I was there but not compos mentis and didn't speak the language. Spoke my own language. I've had to adapt. My old language was far better. Yeah. I knew what I was talking about.
But if you're playing Monopoly, playing Monopoly, you can't jump on the board yourself and walk around it, right?
No.
You need, a Scotty dog or a top hat or a racing car, yeah,
or a train
or whatever, right? You have to be iron. That piece is your piece to play the game.
But what if you don't want to play the game?
Well, you're trapped in the game, so I'm sorry.
But isn't being a sovereign the whole point that you're not playing the game?
Get out the matrix.
Well, that's the thing, if you're using their money, if you're well, not so much if you're using money, but if you're earning money and you're having to pay taxes and all that, you're playing the game. Yeah. Yes, you can remove yourself, but you can only remove yourself so far. I mean, I've tried my best, but I still have a passport because I can't get around, you know, the bod at the desk who says, sorry, you can't go past here, you ain't got a passport.
You want to get a rubber boat.
Yeah, that'll take me a while to get to St. Lucia from here.
Put a motor on it.
Even so.
I did have a question, but it's gone. Hang on. Just a question. Oh, this is good. Zen Johnson. I don't know if you know Zen, but he or she's often on here. And
Hello, Zen.
Hello, Zen. Can you do a show where everyday people can phone in and to explain what they did against the system and if they won and what worked? Which is great, because that's what we want, isn't it? Happy stories. I like to call them happy stories. So I don't know if they can phone in, but they can always
I
this.
used to do a live phone-in show.
Yeah.
And on the internet, and it's a disaster.
Yeah, I can imagine it a little
because
bit
you get some very interesting people. Let me just say that, interesting in inverted commas. And they often, unless you've got the sophistication of a switchboard and somebody able to vet the thing, and you just put people on.
I can imagine.
It was a nightmare. And then sometimes, I mean, whilst you can always cut them off, obviously, it just can be very
I can imagine. You put on the spot there, and you're very witty and clever, but I can challenge.
With the questions coming in, we can at least vet the questions so that we try to make the best entertainment show that we can with this remarkable panel.
Absolutely. But you can always contact me. Send me an email in advance, kizzy63@pm.me, if you've got a happy story, and we'll invite you on. That's how Rebecca's come on today, because she's done Sovereign Pete's course and she's putting it into action. And Jill, who's sometimes on our show, she's got a happy story. And Sandy Adams was going to come on, but she's a bit overworked at the moment. She's got a happy story. So, you know, the more happy stories we have, it's going to encourage the rest of you to create your own happy story.
Well,
happy
can
ending.
I just say that I've got so many happy stories, I wouldn't know where to start. From people who've worked with me and my own happy stories. So how happy do people want these stories?
I reckon what we should do is have a theme. I think maybe next week or 1 week we can have a theme. So if it's going to be council tax, and the following week it could be ULEZ, and then it could be PCNs. So let's start off. If you've got happy stories about council tax, because I'm involved in that one, you know, I think let's work on that. And if we had 5 people with happy council tax stories and how they've done it, Bob's your uncle.
And things like, I mean, something like a good discussion would be on, say, jurisdiction, giving jurisdiction, how you lose it, where you gain, where you keep your own sovereignty, as it were. Because that seems to be one of the big traps that people fall into. They don't always know when they've just given it away. I mean, there's some obvious things. If they say, "Are you John Smith?" and you go, "Yes," well, we'd serve you this notice then.
Stuffed.
But am I the John Smith of that notice? I might live at 32 Acacia Avenue instead of 51.
Yeah.
So there may be those sort of discussions, because that's a big thing, and the traps of paperwork, because we hear about the box rule, what's not on the page. Dean alluded very succinctly there to the I promise to pay, which actually it doesn't say I promise to pay. So, you know, and in the end you could ask, what does it actually bloody say? Because does any of it conform to the Chicago Book of Styles?
Yeah.
And it may actually just be a piece of paper with a picture of some ex-monarchy.
Indeedy.
Or even a current ex-monarchy, depending on whether you believe that he's being nobbled or not.
Yeah, that's all interesting. And I think it's also, at this point, it's a good idea to remind your viewers to contact these clever clogs. Most of them have websites, and they go around the country. We've got our roadshow going on, haven't we? We're visiting 4 places.
Do you want to give a quick rundown of those whilst we've got a chance?
Yeah. Dean.
Well, hold on.
Dean's
Hold
done
on.
a flyer.
Hold on. Yeah, just before you go giving information out, I already get a lot of emails already, so I'm sort of overloaded as it is.
Oh, okay. No, I was only going to give information about our road shows. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, the road shows. And you very kindly done a couple of flyers, because I haven't made a note of them. So on the 23rd of June, is that correct? Are we in
Buxton?
Is that correct, Dean? Oh, good. And then it's the 21st of July, we're in Hull. And then on the 9th of June, we're at Hope, Sussex. And on the 26th of May, we're in Glastonbury. And Dean's been great. He's done flyers. I just haven't been able to confirm venues because I've been really busy because I've got my conference this weekend tomorrow. Richard's coming along. Uprise and Shine at Hope Sussex. David Edelman's going to be there as well on Sunday. So we've got 3 days of amazing talks and workshops and stuff. So come to Hope Sussex and learn more information. But yes, so that's what I was going to say about the roadshow. And we'll have flyers. I'll have them ready for next week because I've confirmed the venue.
If you can give me,
I can send it to you and you can put it on your
I'll put it on my
description.
website as well as in the description and so that
Absolutely.
people know where to go.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best on that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions that are coming out. We've got just under 15 minutes left if anybody wants to ask a question. St. John has got a question. I'll quickly read it whilst we're here. Oh, crikey, I've just made the screen so big. He says, do you think too many resources are being spent? Do you think
too many
resources are being spent on historical crimes instead of current crime? I don't know. I don't know whether they are or not. It depends whether crimes are actually being lodged or not, I suppose. I'm just looking at the panel. Probably outside our things.
What historical crimes? Are we talking about wars going on or something? I wonder.
Not cold calls. What do you call those? Those ones who dig people up from cold cases. That's right.
Cold cases.
Steve Ray says, Richard, how was your pizza?
Yeah, lovely.
With the super chat donation. Hopefully production crew benefited. Yes, actually the money is still residing in there. And now because the panel is looking at us rather with
pizza.
Okay, what are you talking about? We had last week we had 2 super chats, one at £20 and one at £22, I think it was something like that. So there's a budget which I think I'll just give to Karen to spend on the roadshow.
Oh, that's nice. What, on pizza?
On pizza.
That's very sweet.
Oh, hello. Yes.
Hello.
Can you have it? Can I have some money? I've got books to sell.
Or can I have pizza?
Just in reference to that question, if I've understood that question correctly, which I may not have done, if it means are we being distracted by some kind of fake investigation into ancient crimes by bad actors on an individual basis? Are we being distracted from the current criminality that we're being subjected to by government on behalf of globalism? The answer is absolutely. We are, and it's a major source of distraction, and we mustn't lose sight of the fact that however bad the acting has been in the past, the current, the current and imminent and present danger is the one that we must face right now as much as possible and pool our resources into seeing that off or mitigating it as much as possible.
And what would be the current thing that we should be concentrating on, David?
Well, now this is an interesting question because there's a lot of talk about mRNA jabs and existential threats via medical procedures. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think this is also a distraction. The existential threat is coming through nanotechnology and the biosensor, the picking up of our bodily frequencies and controlling us remotely through 5G, 6G, 7G, and that's something that we should be looking into. And I'm glad you give me an opportunity to mention this because one of the gurus in this that I look into or take heed of is a woman called Sabrina Wallace, Wallace, who used to be a telecoms engineer, putting in broadband. And she is very au fait with the real threat to humanity, not the fake medical threat. This is the real nanotechnological threat, because at the end of the day, our real enemy is AI. It's not another human, it's AI. So just thought I'd throw that one in. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for that, David. Somebody's just mentioned, I saw it go up, that the pizza is clearly going to be a promissory pizza.
I made a note, Will Visw wrote that, promissory pizza.
A quick question to the panel here. Do any of the panel have any experience of paying off a credit card debt with a promissory note? I can find no mention of promissory notes in my bank's articles of association on company's house. Dave, allegedly Dave. And Dave may disappear because his batteries are low, I think.
Yeah. So no, not with a promissory note, but you challenge the actual debt because there is no debt. You know, you create the money when you sign the agreement. That's the promissory note, and they basically give you the credit from that promissory note.
So that becomes a financial instrument. Is that correct?
Indeed, and they also sell it after you get the credit, which is just being typed into your account essentially. Then they sell the promissory note itself because it has value. Right? It has not only the principal amount but the interests as well. So people buy that because it's so
this is more than double dipping, isn't it? It's like dipping several times.
Yeah. So that was actually my first foray into the free man thing. I had a $9,000 credit card debt, and I sent one letter, even though I've been paying right up to date, so I wasn't in arrears or anything. I sent one letter asking a few questions, and then all of a sudden there was a debt collector after me.
Bloody hell.
So that was it.
Just for asking questions.
Just asking
Triggered something there.
questions. And that was it. I sent letters to the debt collector and they went away. That was it.
Oh, well done.
Ask questions as king. Zen again. Is it true we can't leave the system if we still want to collect our pension at the end?
Well, I think we can't leave the system at all, according to allegedly Dave.
We might as well
We're stuck in the game of Monopoly.
Yeah, let's just give up then and go home.
Well, I've just a point on that. About
go on, Dean.
You say we can't leave the system. Me and you have spoke about this before, and we said it would unnerve people if they even thought about it. What about the death of the birth certificate?
The death of the... So, go on.
Don't have one. Don't create one in the first place.
What happens when a family member dies? What is the process? That somebody writes to births, deaths and marriages and says that birth certificate, i.e. man or woman, is dead.
Right. You would need a doctor on your side to say, I can certify that Mr. Vobes is now dead.
Well, yes and no. Because the actual paperwork is only paperwork. The doctor is saying that there is a body and it's not breathing.
Right. For how long?
Well, how long is the body not breathing?
Well, that's the thing, because you could not breathe. I mean, I could hold my breath for, say, a certain amount of time. And then they can say that I've got a body here, he's not breathing.
No,
he sends that in the post, and then he goes, "It's all right, you can breathe now."
I meant that he was dead. Obviously.
Dead, yeah.
No, I know, but I'm supposed to, play on words. Words are very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says.
I'm not understanding this. I'm sorry. I'm really confused now.
You've got a birth certificate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, family members, when they die, what is the official process?
You register the death.
Bingo.
Yeah, register. So don't register the death.
No.
No. Register the death.
The registering of the death is not the death, really, of the man or woman.
It's just a bit of paper.
Certificate.
The death of the birth certificate.
Yes.
But the body's dead. The living body is now a dead body.
Yes, no, ignore that, because the birth certificate. I'll just interpret it for hard of thinking.
Or woman.
No, the birth certificate
Julia?
the birth certificate isn't you anyway.
No, that's right.
So somebody's just invented the birth certificate. So it becomes suddenly you've got a bit of paper and there's a name on it. Oh, look at that! There's a bit of a name, and you've attached it to you because you've done all this and you've gone through life. And then you might die, but the doctor. But that's kind of irrelevant. I think this is what Dean means, if I've got this right. Because you could just go, no, he's dead. That's it.
Right.
And as long as that's accepted as death, you're not
Oh, but
dead.
we're still alive.
Yeah, of course we are.
Even though, and that's why you've held your breath. Yeah, so we're still alive. So you've killed the death. You've killed the birth certificate.
Yeah, the birth certificate
with the death certificate.
Gone.
And but we're still outside. So we're outside the system.
But to achieve that, you need a doctor to say he's no longer
dead.
breathing. He's holding his breath. I mean, he's dead.
So if we hold our breath for a long time.
Wait, Dean.
No.
Remember, the doctor is probably in the Matrix, and he is going to associate the body with the birth certificate.
Yes.
That's not the case. It is just the birth certificate, right? The birth certificate is not the man or woman.
No.
Right.
So
how do you get the doctor to play the game?
Yeah.
I didn't even say bring in a doctor. I simply said imagine it, the process.
Oh.
Right. Yes.
Can I just add some clarity here, if you don't mind?
Please.
Look, the journey out of the system is exactly the same as the journey into the system. It's a journey in the mind.
Yes.
They got us into the system using mind control. So the journey out of the system is to remove their control of our mind. And there's Jason Christoph was on the UK column today talking about exactly that. And there's a book called The Indoctrinated Brain. So these are the two resources that I can mention. The other thing, very briefly, is I've just put into your chat box, taking Dave's point about money further, a PDF called Modern Monetary Mechanics. If people want to know how money, in inverted commas, is created, in inverted commas, in the system.
Fantastic. Thanks for the clarity there. As you say, it's all in the mind. I mean, it's all in the mind, and we've been brain babbled. We have just a couple of moments left, so let's give the opportunity to the panel to tell us if they've got anything they would like to promote. There's a great book about School, Not a Place for Children by somebody dubious who we've had on the panel before, but actually it is a very good book and well worth getting if you are thinking of having children who've got boys and girls, parents. David, but apart from your wonderful book, have you got other things happening?
Yes, well, I'm always on tour, not too busy at the moment, but will probably be busy in the summer. So look out for me, Glastonbury with the Roadshow, and then North Devon and Somerset, Western-super-Mare, late May, then early July, North Yorkshire. And some of those talks I do jointly with the English Counties Assembly, who have a very practical lawful remedy, because my theme at the moment is working on people's mind, the journey of the mind, to give people clarity and confidence, resilience, moving forward through these turbulent times. And I run a course online, the People's Lawyer Privacy and Universal Rights course, and that's something that you can do in the comfort of your own home, in your own sweet time.
Thank you so much. That's nice. Dean?
Could I promote?
Of course.
I'd like to promote Richard Vobes on YouTube and Karen Dodd on the Freedom Network.
Oh, you
very
can get an extra slice of pizza for that, Dean.
Yeah, you mean promissory pizza? Like
Promissory pizza. Yeah, that could be a new flavour, couldn't it?
I'm going to come up. I'm going to fill up a bucket full of some lovely Buxton water and take it round to you.
Not pizza. Oh yeah, Buxton water. Forgotten.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tasty.
Thank you, Dean.
Allegedly, Dave, before your battery disappears.
And the sun.
And the sun.
Yeah, you've been sitting in somebody else. Where are you actually, Dave?
He's in Tullamarinus.
I'm up north somewhere and Workington, somewhere like that.
Oh, that's not Torremolinos. It's sunny. Somebody asked because you have sunshine.
Lake District.
In the the lovely Lake
District. It's always
district,
sunshine in the Lake District.
Rainy,
it's bloody cold at the moment. But,
well, you got your duvet next to you and all your sleeping bag anyway. So promotion.
So I'm just on this tour still. I'm going up to the Midlands. Well, I've just started the Midlands now, so I'll be sort of going through Wales next, and then across to like Birmingham and places like that. And then next month I'm up to Scotland. So
fantastic. And do you have a website with your tour dates on?
Yep, it's allegedlydave.com, and go to the front page. You'll see the 2024 tour, and there's a link to see all the tour dates and everything. And that reminds me, I've got to update it. So yeah.
He's a rock star, isn't he?
He is a rock star.
And of course, don't forget to tune in to the Late Night with Dave. Coming soon to
Play
a
Misty
station
for
near-
me.
Rebecca, it's been a joy to have you on the show. Thank you
Thank
for,
you.
for your unique perspective as well.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
And have you anything to promote whilst
Well,
you're here?
I'm not like these guys who are sort of further ahead. I'm very much sort of starting out as a newbie. But it would be nice if anyone's got any web development skills or marketing skills, they can contact me directly, and then we can take it from there. But I've got some ideas. But I really need to sort of sit down with some people and sort of discuss how to actually sort of get a business up and running, essentially.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Yeah, excellent.
So
and that's on the back of Pete Stone's course, isn't it? You said you want to set up your own business, helping
Yes.
people.
Can I give you the email address so that people can actually sort of
Please, yeah, do.
Right. Okay, so it's the actual email is a sovereign first. That's all one word. Sovereign as in sovereign, and then first FIRST at protonmail.com.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And it's good to have somebody, a different face, who's
Sort of walking the
starting
talk.
out but so confident with it as well.
And it's working for her.
I mean, the thing is, for me, I'm also combining meditation. I think that although it's a separate issue, it's also very important, I think, for you to realize you're sovereign, you're actually a unique being. You need to really sort of, shall we say, put yourself in the emotional state or in a vibrational state so that you can actually build that confidence. And once you've got that confidence, then you can actually start to move forward. But it has to come from you first, because your healing starts within first, and then you can then start to actually, sort of move forward, and actually achieve the things that you want to achieve. So yes,
Brilliant.
Meditation is very important. And, I highly recommend Dr. Joe Dispenza, because I do his meditations every day.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for
Thank
that. Karen, we've got the Hope Sussex thing you mentioned.
We've got that,
Got
and
the
then we've
road
got the
show.
road shows and other stuff. And also, I just want to say, Pam, bless her, she said, can you please keep these going, because it's fantastic. And I think we're going to try to, while you're happy to do that.
You said I was
yeah.
happy. No one said I was happy.
Well,
I'm not a happy
all right.
man.
Well, you're just going to do it. While we're directing you to do it, we command you.
If
Are you
there's
not happy doing it?
If there's promissory pizza. then-
Exactly. Promissory pizza. And I bought you cake.
Yeah, that's true. Shush, don't tell them. Thank you very much to our wonderful panel. Thank you to you, the lovely audience, for coming. A big thanks to Julia, who has been at the side. Come and give us a wave, Julia. Who has been... you can come on. You know.
Oh, yeah, come in, Julia.
Who has been feverishly looking to make sure that we haven't had questions and sent lots of bits of paper to us with questions so that we didn't, miss out. So we do appreciate that. Have we got dates for the next show? Is it next Thursday or is it
Yes,
Friday?
next Thursday. We're going to stick to Thursday, I think we said, because I think you're busy and I'm busy, and I think it works for people.
So
people.
next Thursday, 6 o'clock, same time, same place. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Karen for making it all
Pleasure.
possible.
Thank you.
I'm now going to press the goodbye and thanks for all the fish button. So thanks for watching, take care, and